Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Anyway, hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2, joining me today is Milan Jeftic 1992. Steve Baxi is lost somewhere in the ether.
In the beyond of beyonds, he is traveling out in the unknown reaches of the universe, fighting giant trans-dimensional dragons and banging three-eyed princesses. And he's always... Yep, that's what Steve does.
And it's really convenient that Steve's doing that, because, Steve got really into the comic we're reviewing this week, and he just wanted to, kind of do that whole... Steve is what I call a method reviewer. You know how you have method actors that, live their character? Steve, lives the world of whatever he happens to be reviewing. So he went all, just, full-on Silver Age-esque style, lifestyle. And it's unfortunately taken him away to space, so he may or may not be back for the remainder of the review. But, Steve takes his reviewing very seriously. He's a method reviewer.
I know he's actually competent, the competent one of us, of us two, incompetents. But, yeah.
Yep.
We're two bums. We're just like the Mailstones holding him down to our level. He has the... Yeah, we're just the barnacles on the glory of his existence.
We are the cage of the Steve Baxi parrots.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I dig that, bro. I dig that. Golly gee wowzers. Whiz bang, ba-boom, clang, swell, Silver Age. That's...
Yeah, so on, what are we talking about this week?
We're talking about Michael Allred's Madman, Volume 2.
Yeah, which was, it seemed weird to start with Volume 2, but I guess it was kind of like the second run of the character on his own book or something, from what I could tell.
It's a creator's own character. It's a creator-owned character. It's all Michael Allred.
Yeah, I got that, but when trying to figure out what issues to read, I realized it collected Madman comics number 1 to 11, so I assumed this is his first solo book or something. It may have been an anthology beforehand or something. I don't know. Anyway. That seemed weird, but it did end up working. So Milan, what made you decide to pick this?
Well, I really had nothing to pick last week. You just kind of caught me unawares, and so I was just looking around my room and saw this laying on my front desk, and I'm like, hey, fucking Madman's pretty neat. Let's review that. Why not? And thus, manifest destiny and things, the future is formed by our decisions now, bitch. Well, then, technically, if you're speaking, proper time-wise. But, yeah, I'm just Grant Morrising shit up all over the place. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it's just
well,
cool.
Actually, I was fairly surprised how much I enjoyed this, and at the same time didn't enjoy this. I sent out a tweet earlier this week where it was read the first 2 issues of Madman. Not sure if it's the greatest thing ever or the worst thing ever. This book is really strange because it has a lot of reverence for the Silver Age of comics.
Yep.
If you didn't see some of the the copyright and yada yada on some of these pages, you could totally believe that this is a Silver Age comic book, no problem.
Yeah.
So then, as I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, so it's Dark Horse, which is, it's not necessarily always this, but Dark Horse kind of has a reputation for being a little artsy with comic books, Yeah,
Hellboy, fucking The Goon,
Yeah, I mean, they're like, you know, usually the thinking man's comics from time to time.
The hipster, not the bad hipster, but the cool hipster. The guy, like, not the annoying guy that fucking goes like, oh my god, you don't know the things I know? Oh my god. Like, the cool kind of hipster that gets you into new shit. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, check
so, like,
out, Daddy.
as I was reading this, I had that in the back of my mind, so I'm like, I'm expecting it to somehow subvert my expectations and start playing around with this whole Silver Age thing. And I mean, it does some interesting, deep commentary here and there, but that's really sporadic. This is Silver Age comic books, though. This is Jack, like, the first issue is dedicated to Jack King Kirby, as Michael Allred writes, and that's all it is. It's Jack Kirby style comic books, really, man. This is straight out the 70s.
No, Jack Kirby, like, it's not really Jack Kirby. It's more of the fun 60s Archie comics is more my style. There's certainly a lot of Jack Kirby in here, but it's more it's Jack Kirby done from a 1960s jazz hipster's perspective, you know?
Maybe. I'm just talking about, like, the art style and just that era of comics.
It's very 60s. It has this kind of, you know, like, and the characters, like, the reason I really fell in love with this book is just the simpleness of the characters. Like, it's so great to just see it's a comic book. It's not trying to be a movie. It's a comic booky comic book, and it's not ashamed to be a comic book. And it's just, it's really great. Like, you can give Madman to your kids. Like,
yeah, that's one thing I really did like about this. This is something a kid can read.
Yeah, like, you can read it with your kids if you're like a young dad and you're into comics. Give your if you're a teenager, like a tween. Like, tweens are starved of good content. Give this to a tween; they'll love this.
Yeah.
But a smart,
one thing I like,
tween, but like clever tween.
Yeah, one thing that, like, crossed my mind while I was reading this. I'm going to give some background on myself. So, Milan, when I was a young warthog in elementary school,
yeah,
I, like many kids my age, I'm sure, drew my own comic books. You know, I made up characters, and they were very derivative of things I was watching at that age.
Yeah, me too.
So I created these characters called the Fires, and they were like kind of like a weird cross between Power Rangers and Dragon Ball Z characters, but their powers were based on different colors of fire. So, like, I drew the comic books, and they're really derivative, and, like, really they're just my characters going through storylines of things I'd seen around.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean this as an insult, but I think what Michael Allred did is that. Like, he took a character that he invented when he was a kid, and then he, like, just, like, you know, I feel like when he was writing and drawing these comics, he went back and found the, like, old comic books he made at that age, and then just found a way to update them and make them semi-coherent and just not entirely derivative, but still very reverential. Like, I feel like that's what this book is.
I know. Like, how charming is that, though? I mean, oh my god, that's so great. But it's done...
Yeah, and, like, I don't mean it as a bad thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just, like, that's the impression I got from it while I was reading. I was like, my god, this is so, like, simplistic and childish at points, but in a good way, in just this really fun, enjoyable way. And he says things like swell and golly, and I'm like, oh my god, comic book characters saying swell and golly is the greatest thing ever.
I know. Oh my god. I'm really sad Steve's in here, because he's out on his cosmic adventure, you know, forming his space opera and whatever, but, like, I'm really disappointed, because I love Steve's perspective on shit. Like he's... it sucks, Steve. Later on, I really, like, we should get together, and you should, like, we should just talk, the three of us. I really want to hear your opinion. We should do, like, a part 2, you know, on this, and just having here Steve, like, just with Steve, the same thing, but with Steve. Like, this is too good of a thing to not hear his opinion on.
Fair enough. Like, I don't know, maybe I can get Steve to make a reaction video, because I did send him the files last night. Maybe he didn't have a chance to read them. I don't know. Anyway. But yeah, this is like just so damn earnest and so much fun.
Oh, so
it's not
fun.
perfect. I'm not going to say it's perfect. I mean, if you're not into Silver Age comics and stuff, you're not going to enjoy this. I'll tell you that much right away.
If you're grimdark, you're gonna hate this shit. If you're essentially a man with darkness in his soul, and the only superhero character that you can fit in that little shape in your heart is Batman, in all his dark, grim punching of the Joker in the face. You know, if that is all you can do, then the Madman, this wonderful light. Read this if you are this way. Maybe the light of the Madman can bring happiness to your overly dark heart and soul, and bring light to your miserable life. Because Madman is the shit, my son. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I found this, like, very enjoyable just because of how over the top and ridiculous it is, and just, it's contrivance city, but I'm okay with that because it's so much fun. And it's not trying to be anything else.
This is just amazing. It's just like
what?
The spontaneity. It's very spontaneous.
Oh yeah, yes. Oh my god. Like some issues feel like you're getting 3 or 4 stories. You know,
definitely.
because everything just bounces around left to right. But it's still so good at subverting your expectations, which is impressive for Silver Age style storytelling, right?
It is.
Like with the alien and Mott in issue 2 or 3, I forget. You know, they get captured, they're inside the alien ship, and, you know, it ends on kind of like a cliffhanger where it looks like the alien's gonna, you know, dissect him or do evil alien stuff. And then it turns out he's like, you know, just afraid of getting married. And
he's not doing anything bad. He's just like, hey, I have, like, my spaceship is like an oyster. So the outside is really hard, but the inside it's all fleshy, like bowels and stuff. And it's a biological ship, but it runs on bacteria. So if I don't, you know, give you this immunity, if I don't put you in these, you know, just, you know, places, you'll just, you know, grow sick and die. So like it's just weird like that. It's like it's this really delightful thing because like when this scary alien like tries to kill Madman and his girlfriend, his girlfriend Josephine. She's just like, you know, come on, let's not run from her. Like, we know, like, she's a bride looking for her mate, and sure, like, her species devour their males after, you know, marriage, but, you know, let's talk to her. I'll talk to her like a woman to a female, a woman to woman. And, like, Madman's girlfriend, like, sits her down, and Madman's like, don't let her in, she'll eat us. And she's like, no, come on, we'll talk to her. And, like, and they have, like, a lady thing, like, talking and shit. And it's so cute. It's like, oh my god, these are really nice people. It's
one thing for me that that kind of like, I'm not going to say threw me, but I thought it was very interesting, is there are a lot of things that you couldn't have done in the Silver Age, and I'm not sure if he's doing them because it just fits his story that he's trying to tell, or if he's trying to just, this is weird, tell Silver Age style stories but with modern sensibilities or with modern storytelling
techniques.
No, not techniques. Modern storytelling allowances, like things that you can get away with now that you couldn't get away with in the 70s.
I suppose so. But I think like this I know what you're talking about, but it seems too genuine. I think he just
No, because like with Mott and why he doesn't want to get married, he's like, oh yeah, one night of passion and then she'll eat me. I'm like, I don't think you could have said something like that in the 70s.
Oh, definitely not. Like the Hayes Code was, is it Hayes? But the comic books code was in power back then, so you can't really reference sex. But really, the weirdest thing, if you read some of that old stuff, like in the better comics, like it's really subversive. It really hits that. Like, it's really
like
smart.
There's that famous Nick Fury comic and everything.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, definitely. It's really subtle. Like it's hinted to it, but it's not like outright like said. So it's kind of like you listen to it, but it's clever writing. They had to be clever about it. And it's like when you read it now, it's just like, oh my god, you pervy bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's like, certainly that was there, but I'm just like, there's a lot of stuff where it feels like he's trying to prove you can tell Silver Age stories and do and talk about the kinds of things that you could get away with today that you couldn't get away with then.
Oh, definitely. Yes. I think like that. There's definitely an element of that there, but I think it's just more like I think he's doing it unconsciously. Really, it seems like the story.
You think it's just part of him telling his story?
Yeah, I really do, because it seems like how the stories kind of interblend. So, like how you mentioned before, it seems like you're having like one or two stories in one issue. And I think it's just like he just sat down, like took the comics from his childhood and just kind of wrote them again, try to find that place in his head where, like, that place of innocence, that place of like sheer childhood joy. He managed to kind of capitalize on that feeling and bring it over into his art, and thus.
Okay, fair enough. But let me throw this at you then as a counter argument to that. What the hell's up with the IRA bombing?
I don't know. Maybe that was just the feeling at the time. The bomb was always there.
Well, like, it was mid-90s when this was coming out, but, you know, there's that issue with Hellboy in it where, you know, Hellboy doesn't play a big part or anything.
No, it's just a cameo.
Yeah, but it begins and like, the starting point of that issue, if you will, like, the driving force behind that story is a guy is a member of the IRA, and he bombs an orphanage.
Yeah.
And that's, like, really dark shit.
Yeah. And then he becomes, like, that is some fucked up shit, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not sure, like, that just didn't feel like Silver Age at all to me. You know, the villains in Silver Age, when someone did a bad thing, maybe, like, someone would die, but that, like, they'd already be kind of a bad person, or like, it would be, like, a death that really wasn't, like, violent, you know, like, oh, I accidentally made someone crash their car and die. But straight up bombing an orphanage?
Yeah.
That's really out there compared to the rest of the stuff.
Like, and Hellboy is just there because Hellboy is, like, it's weird, like, it's this weird idea that you have, like, processing ideas at the time, through a childish comic book lens, and it really works. Like that's what Grant Morrison does a lot, but in reverse. Like for the Batman R.I.P. stuff, he just kind of took that Silver Agey concept, like that sheer inventive wackiness of just like, let's just throw whatever shit to the wall and see what sticks. Like, and if you take that in reverse, like, that's terrifying. Like, it becomes psychological horror. It becomes like when this childish stuff is taken into the world of adulthood, it becomes, you know, regressive and just terrifyingly ugly and just like unnatural in an adult world.
Well, see, I don't think that's what's happening.
Let me finish. But the thing is, he, like Michael Allred, took that same thing, but done it in reverse. And like, what would a kid at the time be thinking of this whole bombing thing? Like, or like, what if your cousin was in the NRA or whatever? Like, what would
NRA,
RRA? Sorry, I can't talk today. But yeah, and it's just kind of that realistic real world terror seen from a childish perspective. Like how like, I really want to see, like, we grew up with 9/11. Like how, like, the younger kids who just like were very little, like who were younger than us. We're in our 20s, but like kids that are younger than us. But like, what is 9/11 to them? You know, what is that, like, time of terror for adults? Is that like just a thing in the background, or is it just that's a thing? Adults understand the full issue, and so they're very tentative to deal with them. Children are like, they don't know what it is. Children will go play with landmines, concept-wise. You know, they'll play with conceptual landmines without fully understanding what they mean. So comic books and stuff is really great for younger. Comic books are great for everyone, but from a sheer, like, if you want to get kids into stuff, like introduce concepts like of slavery, of like bad guy, good guy, it's really, if you think about it, comic book stories, the early Silver Age stuff was just big, like, real world, but done on a broad, kid-friendly scale. Mm-hmm. And that's what good childhood, like, if you're a father and you're looking for some lessons for your kids, like, on a sheer psychological level for the children, it prepares them for the greater concept.
Okay. That's an interesting point, and I don't know if it's...
That's just my...
I don't want to say it's not related to what's going on, but I don't think that's what he was trying to do.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm just far too out there to fully grasp it. Maybe you're right. Maybe he was just kind of wanting to be topical and failing at it, but I don't think it's that simple.
I don't think it was him trying to be topical and failing at it. I think there's something else going on with the whole IRA scene. And, like, maybe it wasn't even meant to be IRA. Maybe it was just a guy did a dumb thing, like he sets it up. But, I mean, you know, they're white guys. They're on, like, this, you know, rocky island kind of city thing.
Irish
like,
looking.
Yeah, it looks very IRA-ish, you know? So, like, that's just present in the back of my mind as I'm watching it. I'm like, or reading it, rather. I'm like, something's very... Like, it seems like he's really trying to do something here. I'm not entirely sure what it is. And that's how I feel anytime something comes up in this book that's like, you know, not to sound like an idiot, but anytime something deep happens, I'm not sure how to feel about it. Because, like, it happens just every so often. Like, there's that scene where, you know, you show an IRA bombing in something that's otherwise completely, totally innocent. And then there's, like, in his journal in one of the, I think, first 3 issues, he says something like, I wondered what it would be like to be God for a day, and God could be me. And then he just goes on, like, this little rant thinking about it for, you know, just a paragraph or so. And then it ends with, I'm not going to let Joe read this. She'll think I'm weird. And it's just like, what? It's like it had nothing to do with anything that was going on the page. It's an incredibly complex and very deep thought. And I liked it, but I don't know what to think of it. Because I don't know what he's trying to get across.
I think it was just like, it's very cerebral comics. Like, the story is more... Like I said before, it has that childhood mentality to it. It's not like it's just you think about things. Like when I was a kid, I used to have thoughts like that. You know.
Yeah.
You know, like
it reminds
when you
me
were
of
a kid and you're like, I wonder what it would be like to just be able to control people and make them.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. Like kids have.
Maybe. It reminds me of It reminds me of Persepolis. I read Persepolis over the summer, which, great comic, by the way. It's a true story, too. And, like, the author, when she was a little girl, she wanted to be a prophet. Like, you know, the Muslim faith has all these different prophets, and, like, the teachers would ask her what she wants to be when she grows up, and she says, I wanted to be a prophet. And that really threw some people. And, like, she has these conversations with God in the beginning of the book, in the first couple chapters. And, you know, she draws God, and he looks, you know, like, you know, typical pig beard, bushy hair, everything. And they're, like, really silly, kind of fun conversations. She's like, so it's like, God's like, so, do you really think I look like Marx? And she goes, I don't want to talk about that right now. Okay. What do you want to talk about? I don't know. Okay. The weather's going to be nice tomorrow. Which is, you know, it's a good thing that God lets her know that. So, it reminds me of that when you say that, Milan, that it's like, oh, it's, you know, a kid thinking about, like, these complex things. But at the same time, I don't think that's what it is there either, because there's nothing to, like, set that idea off. There's nothing in the, like, events of the story at the time to introduce that idea.
Maybe. It's interesting. Yeah, like, yeah. Huh.
Like, it's a fascinating idea. It's very... Basically what he talks about is the concept behind Bruce Almighty, but he only wants to do it for a day, and he's afraid that he'll screw everything up. And that's, like, just... It's one of those things where I'm just like, what the hell is Michael Allred trying to say?
Maybe.
And, like, later
the thing
on...
Is, it really doesn't think like he's trying to say anything. I think he just tells a story. It's just completely ripped raw from his brain. And
you think it's stream of consciousness?
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Stream of consciousness comics. You know, that just it really like that seems like it. That's what I get when especially reading it in trade. It just seems like I don't know how I really want to just read it like one issue at a time, but like I've been reading it like all just in one trade, and it really does just feel like a stream of consciousness. It's like
yeah, maybe. I read it like single issues back to back. God damn, the Alex Ross cover is gorgeous, by the way.
I know. It's like he's an amazing artist. And the thing is, I love his anatomy. It's cartoony, but like he understands like humans move like actual humans in this. It's amazing.
No. I'm talking about the cover Alex Ross did. But anyway, I don't want to talk about the art just yet because I do want to continue on this train of thought about like these really complex ideas that just kind of show up left and right. And it's like really sporadic because, all right, so there's the like thought of God, I guess I'll call it, in the like second issue, I want to say. Then there's the IRA bombing, and then it really doesn't come up again until toward the very end of this volume when Madman and Astro Man are heading to the robot city, and he has all these really deep thoughts about what it means to want to kill something and what, like, whether or not artificial intelligence and artificial emotion are legitimate life since they developed on their own, and whether or not it's okay to want to kill something just because it's a robot and blah, blah, blah. And it's so fucking fascinating. But at the same time, this is going to sound really negative, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't feel like the book has earned that right to be that fascinating because the rest of it's just fun silliness.
I don't know. I disagree with that. I think it really does work. In its own fundamental, weird, kind of abstract way, it really does work. See, like, I appreciate it when stories have that ability. When, like, comic books really just have that ability to transcend the story, like the basic construction of the story, beginning, middle, and end. Comic books can circumvent that and tell their own kind of style of storytelling. It's like it's the place where music and like books and regular books, novels and shit. It's like its own. Comic books have the ability to make their own way of telling a story.
Well, no, it's not that it's like it hasn't told the story well to that point. I think it has. It's just the level of thought isn't there enough to feel like that level of thought is just accessible when it comes up.
I don't know. I thought it was accessible. I thought it was like done really well. I guess it's just a taste thing.
It felt like I was reading. It felt like, I don't know if you've ever seen any of these. They're pretty funny. People will occasionally take comic book pages and, like, white out the balloons and the narration and then put their own balloons and narration in just to make it hilarious.
Yeah.
And it felt kind of like reading that at certain points. Because it's just like, it's so different from everything else you've seen thus far that it feels like, it almost feels like someone else just wrote this scene. Or wrote the dialogue, or wrote the monologue.
I disagree. I think it works.
I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's interesting, and if you wanted me to find the ideas interesting, that's succeeded. I'm just saying it's very off. It throws you off big time. It really just throws a wrench into the gears of the story from a certain perspective, because you're just like, you're having fun, Silver Age, yay, fight robots, cool, and all of a sudden, what is life? I'm like, what? Whoa, where did this come?
I think that is the perfect way to ask that question. Hey, fighting giant robots, then what is life?
What is life? It's like, when did Nolan show up? I'm sitting here, reading my Yo Gabba Gabba comic book, and then all of a sudden Chris Nolan walks in the room and starts giving me these, like, moral platitudes. I'm like, the fuck is this?
I like that. I don't know, like, I just like that level of just, just random things splurged together.
Well, I'm going to sue Michael Allred for giving me whiplash, which I got while reading this comic book and having to crane my neck up to scratch my head real quick.
I don't know. I dug it. I really dug it. I really dig it, Daddy-O.
I don't know. There's something about it that just seems really strange to me, and I kind of wanted to talk about it just to try and get at what we think is going on there. So you really just think it's just him going, oh, I want to throw some I'm having fun writing the story, and now I want to throw these complex ideas in because they're just what's hitting me right now.
Yeah, I think
That's what you think it is.
Yeah, I think it is. Because it just really does seem that way. It seems like really stream of consciousness. It doesn't seem like he just really sat out and planned this out. Like you really said, he just seems like he just took his childhood comic books that he made as a kid and just kind of rewrote the story to be like done from his perspective. Like just done that, but with an adult brain and with that feeling.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That certainly seems possible, but I don't know. To me, like it feels like there's something more than that going on. It feels like there's more than the stream of consciousness writing going on here, and I'm just trying to get at it because I don't think like what I've said. I don't think is necessarily the case. That's just what's going through my head right now. So I'm just my main thing is I'm just not sure what he's getting at with these like really deep, complex scenes. And I'm sure there's something, I just don't know what it is. And I think it's more than, just simple stream of consciousness. Because there's so much effort and logic and play-by-play put into those moments, with the exception of the, what if I were God for a day? Like, maybe it's something that's tying into the character later on, because from what I can tell in the final issue, the book looks like it's getting a little more violent. Because I think we just revealed in the final issue that Frank used to be like a hitman or something. So I don't know. It's really interesting.
Yeah. He used to. That's why I really want to get Volume 3, because like in Volume 3 he has a conversation with Superman on a playground.
Damn, I'm jealous.
Hello.
Hello.
What?
I said I'm jealous. I really do want to read Volume 3 now. Just because that sounds awesome.
It does. It's so great. Well, I think it's Volume 3 or 4. I don't. Yeah. I think it's 3. But yeah, like I want to get Volume 1 and Volume 2, Volume 3. I just want to collect it. It just is so great. Like the kids, like at my local, like when I give comics to a camp once a year, and I really want to give them this, just like the first 3 volumes of Madman. Because there should be some new, younger kids there, and that's the perfect way to introduce comics to kids. And it's really
this is great stuff for kids. I'm not going to deny that. Even when it gets really out there and weird, I mean, it's going to go over kids' heads.
Yeah, but like,
so that's fine.
The thing is, this is the perfect concept of all ages. It's not just for kids. Like you said, there's deep philosophical stuff of the adults and the young people like us in our 20s too. It's a really hip comic, and I use that word completely without irony. Like irony is not cannot survive with Mike Allred's Madman. Like you can try to inflict irony on Madman, it just washes right off his white suit. It's completely genuine. It's upfront. It wears its heart on its sleeve, and it doesn't give a fuck. It's just like, here I am, fuck you. And I love this, and I love. This comic is really great. We should check it out.
Yeah, your mic's kind of slipping in and out, so like mute your mic for just a sec. I don't know if it's your mic or connection, maybe, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a really good way to try to get kids to start reading comics. My only, I guess, counter to that would be that I just don't see any kid wanting to read Madman, because who the hell has ever heard of Madman, I think to get kids into comics, you have to start with characters they know. What?
Well, if you want to introduce a character to a kid, just give them the comic to read.
Well, no, I'm saying if you want to get kids into comics in general, you got to kind of start with the big names. Like,
yeah.
Whose first comic book is going to be like an issue of Sandman, really?
Like, not just completely by itself. I mean, you're obviously going to give them a steady diet of books, but like...
Yeah, fair enough. I'm just saying, like, who starts out with something that's like, you know, indie, big name kind of comic? You always start with a big name.
Well,
you always start with, you know, Superman, Spider-Man, Batman...
And Madman. You know, that little bit of subversion in the stack of your kid would really fit. I mean, it's just like... It's like, especially for younger kids, like, and just like, they would, like, just for anyone, really. It's just, I'm really tired, like, oh, it's just because it's indie doesn't mean it can't be a part of the mainstream. It's really...
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I don't see this as the first comic to give a kid.
I don't know, maybe the second, I don't know, maybe the third.
I'd say the third. The third's probably good. If you're having trouble finding some big name characters, yeah, the third would probably be good.
Yeah,
I think it's a good comic for kids to read. If you got like a kid that you're taking to the comic book store week to week, getting them an issue of this every week, if this is still coming out, which I doubt at this point, but getting them an issue of Madman every week is a good idea because it's something that, you know, they can continue to read, and like, what kid won't want to keep reading comic books if he sees his dad or mom doing it every day?
Yeah. So it's like, it's great because comic books, like, it's for everyone. Like, and I want them to enjoy them. If it's a good story, if it's drawn well, if it's a good product, like a movie or a song, like the person, you know, give them a try. Like, you know, if you're a person who's like, I highly doubt that anyone who doesn't already read comics listens to us, but if you're just stumbled onto this podcast, like, while perusing through the internet, check out some comics. You might enjoy them, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Check out my motion comics, you know? Yeah, plug, shameless, you know, channel YouTuber.
I'm gonna make you get a tattoo on your forehead that says whore.
Oh, you're not the first person to tell me that, funny enough.
You know, your sign-off is no longer the Madman. It's now and I'm the whore. That's what you're going to have to say at the end of every episode. I'm the fat whore.
I'm not a fat whore. I'm a paunchy whore.
No, you're a fat whore.
Shut up. You're a fat
mouth.
You're a fat.
Shut your fat whore mouth.
Okay, enough of that. Oh, you're awful. You suck.
I really hope there's never slash fiction of us, because I just gave someone like the worst audio clip they could ever use. like 50 Shades of Milan. Mike, okay, anyway, yeah, let's try to get back on track here. There's a track somewhere, and we're gonna find it, ladies and gentlemen. So, Madman Comics, Michael Allred. Well, Milan started talking about the art, and I'll continue talking about it a little bit. The art in this is not like fantastic or anything. It's very Jack Kirby in its look, and as discussed on this show before, and, you know, please don't kill me, anyone listening, I'm not a Jack Kirby fan. I don't think...
You fucking Judas!
Yeah, I don't think that Jack Kirby's, like, awful or bad or anything like that. I'm just, you know, I got into comics, like, the very first comic book I ever had, I'm pretty sure is a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. When I was a kid.
To start.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man comic, so... There's the beginning of my exposure to comic book art. Everything else, I started reading comics in the, you know, modern age of comic books that we're in right now. Everything that I know about Silver Age comics and stuff is from going back and looking at that stuff. So I don't really have, like, that revelation moment for people that started reading Silver Age, found Jack Kirby, and then started reading Modern Age. It's like, oh, wow, it's all Jack Kirby now. So, like... I think Jack Kirby's like a very good artist for his time and everything, and that if you were alive today, he'd be able to do just as great quality work as all these other guys do. I'm not going to say that he couldn't, but, you know, the dude put out 600 books a day. Obviously, his art isn't amazing like what we see when, you know, Jim Lee spends 6 months making one book. or David Finch or whoever spends 6 weeks on one panel or whatever.
Yeah.
So, keep that in mind. It's like the guys are getting paid a lot more and they have a lot more time and they're not working on 100 books at a time nowadays, so their art is better looking than Jack Kirby's was. Doesn't mean that Jack Kirby wasn't
don't worry.
better artist.
Don't worry. It's okay.
I'm covering my ass because right now I have the entire internet of comic book fans ready to kill me. That being said, so you can see the Jack Kirby in this, and I'm not a huge Jack Kirby fan, so I'm not brought back to nostalgia land because of it. It's good though. I like the art. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's not amazing or anything.
Well, the thing is, it doesn't really remind me of Jack Kirby. It's more of a mixture. It's a mixture of house styles. It's like a 1960s house styles done today. Well, back in the 90s, and it really has that kind of artsy-fartsy, Archie comics. This really reminds me of weird underground Archie comics style of 60s comics.
This is like what the fucking Archie comics artists did in their free time while they were getting high on acid.
Pretty much, yeah. It really does have a psychedelic way, but not like hey, I want to cut my ear off type of acid, but the fun kind of, hey, let's read our old comic books type of acid. Let's all hug.
Yeah, like all the Archie guys are just sitting there drawing the Archie comics, and then someone goes, "Hey guys, I laced the water cooler with acid." And shit, alright, let's keep working. And this is what they fucking drew. And just one guy came in and fucking wrote around the situation to try to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's fuck it, there's a puke monster because one of the guys threw up on the page and they just kind of drew around it. So now I have to find a way to make that work.
Yeah.
I think that's the origin. It's either that or, like I said, it's just a kid. It's a guy writing the comics made as a kid.
Yeah.
Come on, Mike. God, it's awful right now.
Sorry.
Way too loud.
Sorry, dude. But, yeah, continue.
No, but I do like the art in this. It's fun. It's exactly what it's supposed to look like. Silver Age comic art. It'd be kind of jarring if you had this classic Silver Age storytelling and you had modern for the time, so 90s art. That would have looked a little weird, especially if it'd been 90s art with all the leather and chains and spikes and stuff. Oh, 90s. How I miss you so.
Actually, later on, they do experiment with styles a lot. Mike Allred really kind of takes some of that 90s stuff, and he has a couple of creators from the time doing a Madman story done in the 90s, kind of pouches everywhere type of art. It's amazing.
I kind of want to see, the gang members or whatever they are, the guys that say Daddy-O. I want to see them in 90s style art. That sounds like fun.
It's just amazing. It is. And it's really hip in the best way possible. Yeah?
Did you get a chance, I know in the scans that I read, and yes, Mike. Dude, it's so fucking loud. I'm wondering, did you get a chance, because I know in the scans that I read, there were these, I guess, guest artist drawings in the back of the books. So, Bruce Timm did a drawing of Madman. And
I got those too.
Yeah, oh my god, those were my favorite part. I'd get to the last page of the comic and I'd read it, and then I'd skip through all the letters pages and stuff just so I could look at the Madman and this artist's style. And my two favorites were Bruce Timm and, once again, Alex Ross, because Alex Ross did the cover and, another issue, or another image of the Madman characters reading a Madman comic book, and it was, oh my god, it was so cool.
I know,
it looked
right?
Amazing.
With all these indie comic books, you have, in the background, usually have a gallery of pinups. So you have, just different artists, all these artists know each other. So, hey, can you draw a picture of Madman or whatever? And it's sure. And they, most of the comic book guys, indie guys, are reading each other's books anyway. So it's kind of a lot. You know how back in the day, Lovecraft and H.G. Howard kind of had that kind of pulp writer type of thing? They were all reading each other's books as they were being published. and they would reference each other. Well, in the artist's world, it's kind of done the same thing. If you're a comic book company and you're all making your own shit, and you have friends that are artists also, they read your book, they say, hey, I done a pinup of Madman. It's like basically fan art from creators.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome because it's so cool to see. And I mean, think about it. You got fan art from Alex Ross. That's the greatest thing ever.
I know, right? I wish one day that I will also have fan art by Alex Ross of my books.
I really don't want to see Alex Ross paint a gimp suit full of spiders.
Oh, come on.
That's not something that I need.
Oh, come on. An Alex Ross gimp suit full of spiders done in full, size. I'll pay him to draw that, as a gigantic life-size portrait. Just to get, a crucified gimp suit full of spiders with its head open, and just spiders just crawling all over it in a hellish background. You know?
So I figured out in Maya how to, there's these things called emitters, particle effects and emitters. And so you use it if you're making, snow or, say, a water spout or something. But I found out that you can change, what the particle is. And so if I can find a CG model of, a full gimp suit where you can't see any, human skin or anything, I will straight up animate a gimp suit that, slowly deflates as just millions of spiders shoot out of it. So, yeah, that's something I thought about doing the other day, but I couldn't find a CG model of a gimp suit.
Well, that you can now feel my influence on your psyche. I'm like Cthulhu in that way. You know, you hang around me for too long, and you're thinking of creating such terrifying imagery with your skills.
Well, it's just something that is so horrifying. I just want to create it just because I'm reasonably sure it would go viral. I'm reasonably sure I could get a gimp suit just deflating as millions of spiders vacate it to go viral.
Yep, this is the Geeky Gentleman, boys and girls. We're talking about Madman, and then we're starting to talk about gimp suits full of spiders, which, TM, by the way, that's my idea. You can't steal it from me. I've copyrighted the gimp suit full of spiders concept. Fuck you.
You should get a tattoo of a gimp suit that's just leaking spiders.
You know what? I might design...
Right on your face.
Oh my god, there's a lot of dudes with face tattoos where I live. It's just amazing. And I'm
I saw a face tattoo as just a sign to everyone in the world. It's of just the person saying, where I am in my life is the farthest I am ever going. Upward mobility is just not existent for me. I am here. This is it. There's nowhere else to go but down.
Well, I guess it's just if you're... I don't know, Mike Tyson got a face tattoo, and when you're...
And yeah, that worked out so well for him.
Yeah, he's got a...
His career has gone nowhere but up since he got a face tattoo.
Motherfucker's got an animated show based on his wondrous Scooby-Doo and, he has an animated show where he drives around in a van with a talking animal.
He used to be a multi-millionaire who never would have needed an animated show, but he decided to build a house and put 24-karat gold trim along the walls because it would look good.
Motherfucker got style. I can't deny. I know, but,
No, that motherfucker wasted money and lost millions.
Yeah, but isn't that just what, rich people do? That's what young money does.
Yeah. And so as I just said, once you get a face tattoo, it's all downhill. You are not going anywhere else but down from that point on. You might get lucky enough and stay just where you're at, but there's nowhere else beyond that. Face tattoo equals that is your position for the rest of your life. So, if you're, the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, maybe get a face tattoo because that might just be job security at that point. More than likely, it's all downhill from there.
And I guess, yeah, do that. That's completely sane, rational, and... Yeah, totally. I'm gonna get one right now, dude. At the minute we stop talking, I'm gonna go out and get a face tattoo.
Well, like, no, fuck it. Just, like, grab a pen and a lighter and just, like, a needle and just heat it up and everything. And just do it live on recording. It'll be awesome.
Oh, when we have our next live show, I'd totally just tattoo my own face. It'd be amazing.
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, anyway, what else is there to say about Madman, Milan? Because we gotta go for, like, another 10 minutes.
Do we really have to go for another 20 minutes?
10.
Oh, okay, then. Well, I don't know. The comic is amazing. The art is brilliant. Their story writing is entertaining and lively, and it's bubblegum. Like, it's bubblegum rock in its best. It's 60s bubblegum rock tinged with 90s punk. Boom.
Dude, turn down Sly Cooper. And yes, I can actually identify that is Sly Cooper in the background.
You're a bad motherfucker in that case, and that's why I love you.
Yeah. I just heard Bentley's voice and was like, Sly Cooper, shit, fuck yeah. Anyway. Alright, so Madman, I guess my general thoughts on Madman. It's good, it's fun, it's entertaining. It's not amazing, though, and it's not meant to be amazing. It's just meant to be, a fun romp, I think. Unless he's trying to do something else with it. Maybe he's trying to prove that Silver Age storytelling can be complex if you give it time. I don't know. What we have is like the middle of the story here. And it's still fun. It's still entertaining. But I don't know if that's enough. So I guess what I'm saying is I need to read more Mad Men. And I certainly want to. I think...
Let's just say it gets a lot better. Like, it's good. You think it's good now. It gets, like, the quality explodes to levels unseen by human comprehension.
I guess, but I'm not sure, because it gets... Dude, Mike, I'm not talking. It gets really weird, and it looks like it's getting more and more violent, so I don't know what points he's trying to make. I guess what I'm saying is I enjoyed it, but I don't know what exactly he's trying to do with it, and I don't know, I feel like there's this kind of contract between writer and reader that by the end of the book, by the end of a story arc or whatever, I should kind of know what's going on. In a general sort of way. I should know, like, where you're leading me to a certain point. Or within a margin. I should have a margin of error of what you're trying to do with your story by the end of it. And here, I think I might kind of know, but I don't really know, so I feel like that contract's been broken. And I don't know how comfortable I am with that. So yeah, that's my general thoughts. I just feel kind of confused and like left out in the cold with this episode, or with this book.
I don't know. I guess it's just the spontaneity and the wackiness really appealed to my natural mental illness. But that sounds so fucking horrible. I'm sorry. That it just really appealed to me. This it just works with me. This story is how I think. Just like a slew of whimsical wonder interspersed with like deep thought and tragic violence. That is Milan, but happy version Milan. But yeah, essentially think of this as like that Golly Gee Wowzers kid from the 60s, but wearing a leather jacket and with spiked hair.
Yes. I mean, it's just strange. It's weird. It's fun. And that's all I can really say for it. Occasionally, some really deep shit comes up, and I don't know what to make of that. That's the thing that's throwing me, because...
Okay, I think we've talked enough about this. Like, it's...
No, hold on. Let me just make one point. If it weren't for that, I'd say it's just a fun, like, callback to the Silver Age, and you should read it if you really like that stuff, because it's really fun and enjoyable. But at the same time, I'm tempted to tell people that if you don't like Silver Age stuff, maybe read this because it might be doing something with Silver Age storytelling that's gonna interest you. I just don't know. It's weird. That's my final consensus, I suppose. It's weird and strange and fun and entertaining and stuff.
and stuff. Like, that's the best description of this book. And stuff. It's really great and stuff. And it's just like, anyway, like, you've stretched this out for too long. We need to end right now before the world explodes. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this has been your faithful friends and compatriot, the Geeky Gentleman. And I am the Madman, and I was joined by...
the Philosopher.
Right.
And we're the Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing